Oh, Alex is going to get us so many comments on his shirt and tagline.
I love officials, man. They do a thankless job.
I mean, I don't feel like that was an adequate makeup for the end of the Georgia game last year. So I don't think any Tech fan or Brent Key or anyone else would concur with that. And overall, it was pretty much an F effort uh, all the way around on the officiating, from the misspotting of the opening kickoff return by 5 yards to all the way to pretty much the end of the game. It was
I don't
just
know.
waiting for a pass interference on the last play. Like on the 2-point conversion, that was the only thing that was missing from that awesome display of ACC officiating.
I think I don't know. I've seen the some few Wake Forest fans saying that the ACC did it to favor Georgia Tech since they're a team.
Yeah, they called down in their special system to their referees in the middle of the game to tell them to fix it for them. They told them to not do anything for an entire half of the football game, basically. Is this so? I'll just jump right into this. Wake did the exact same thing in that NC State game. If you watch that, they did nothing for basically in the second half. They had like one drive. They did the same thing this week. Now, a lot of it was because Robbie Asher got hurt on that play where Eford tripped him up. But like, you gotta make a couple plays, man, to like win a game. They made like one in the whole second half of that game. And it could have been different too if like there were a couple of plays if Tech maybe hits. Like it really like could have turned it. And that was as bad as I've seen Georgia Tech play, other than I referenced with Brent. I referenced the Florida State game, which was awful down in Tallahassee, which is when they kind of came back to life before their run in 2023, the 2022 game in Tallahassee, and then and was the other one? Oh, the Clemson game where Haynes King just kind of like was just off that whole game and threw like 3 picks or something, 3 or 4 picks. Um, and that was in 23. But like they play really bad, so they don't win a game. And sometimes it's better to be good in the right spots or lucky or whatever it is. And Georgia Tech certainly hasn't had much. So I appreciate this off the rip. Everyone's going after Barrel on our board. He started when is Georgia Tech and a Georgia Tech thread on, maybe it was like Wednesday or Thursday of last week, and I immediately thought this is like bad karma to put this in the world if you're like a Tech fan. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting game.
I don't know. So I watched the playback, and
You're a braver man than I am.
Daquan White was probably offside, but somebody made a good point that the view was not right down the line, and also they didn't react immediately.
No, you're
I don't
supposed
know.
to snap as soon as that dude jumps off sides. That's what you're taught
Yeah,
to do, even if he just sent the ball over Robbie Ashford's head, because that forces the official to throw the flag, because he's going to look at it and be like, oh, this dude's way off sides. It might even get the line judge on the other side to throw it.
yeah. I mean, you got to react.
Neither one of them threw it. So, like, whatever.
They're not expecting. I don't think they're expecting drop back pass there either. Like from the officiating, I don't know if they'd called a pass or I don't know. It
was weird.
happens.
It was clearly a run blitz, I guess, and they were thinking they were going to run, and then they ran like a vertical on the far side. That could have been picked off too, by the way. Like, it was a bad overthrow too.
Yeah,
But I mean, the play with the strip sack was just as bad to me. Like,
it was terrible.
Like, just call nothing. The ball went backwards. Like, like they're investigating it like it's the Kennedy assassination. And they're like I don't understand like what they're doing. Like, have that magic technology from movies where you can like slow and enhance the visual or whatever to see how tight his hand is on the ball, or because that's probably what it would have come down to. Like the ball went backwards. I think if the ball goes backwards, I don't care what it is, and I'm a Patriots fan. I know about the tuck rule and all that stuff. An OG Patriots fan long before Tom Brady got there, and it's just like if the ball goes backwards, man, it's hard. Like unless it's really clear that like something happened, like you get hit on the wrist as you're throwing the football and it does something. I don't know.
Well, I know it's the tuck thing, but he had enough like he did the throwing motion, then he reclinched it back and was coming back into his body. So I don't know if that applies. I think it was a fumble either way. That's what they called on the field, and like
I mean, it was that was a huge momentum. It
Yeah,
was
I
to
don't see
change
how in
the
the world
momentum of the first half.
they overturn that. Like, and you go to get the ball at midfield where they return it to with 2 timeouts, and I don't know. Like that could have changed the game. It's officiating's bad. Like, and there's no like crazy conspiracy theory. Sometimes they just miss calls. Like there's, I
mean,
know.
look, if anything, the league, if they were cooking things, they would have cooked that touchdown in the Florida State Virginia game where that kid juggled the ball. That was,
Oh yeah.
That was about as like difficult a call as I've ever seen in a game. Like to try to ascertain what was happening, but don't juggle the ball there like that. Like he juggled it like he was a juggling ball instead of trying to catch it.
At the very back of the end zone, it's like he had it, and then he just like juggled it again for no reason, and like I don't know if it's a catch or not, but it certainly didn't. He didn't finish it. Yeah, it was something, but I don't know.
It was not a great weekend for the officiating of the ACC on national television. We'll put it that way.
No.
But like if you're Wake Forest, I get why you're pissed. Your team's terrible. Like you have a lot of flaws. You have an interesting coach that might be good. You have 3 good players on offense, and then you don't have a ton around them. And it's going to be a long season for them. And like in Georgia Tech, here's the thing y'all got to, as Tech fans, you have to realize you're going to get everybody's best shot from here out probably. So like next week, 2 weeks, Virginia Tech's going to come to town and try to upset you. And then Duke, unless, if Duke continues to do well, then maybe it's a little less like that. But pretty much every week it's going to be like that from here out because everyone else sucks. So like, you gotta tell them about your jersey. They're like, really, where did you get your jersey from? They would
Duke. Duke looks like a rejuvenated kind of team last few weeks, but the jersey. I was a basketball official for the Upward Basketball League, very prestigious league that many people probably know about.
The Upward. I'm familiar with that. My children did some Upward sports
at various churches around the area. So you had to dig in the closet to get one. But I'm just celebrating officials appreciation day. They do a hard job and thankless job, and they need to be appreciated sometimes.
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, sometimes they do. Yeah.
I feel like we had an opposite conversation in like the end of November last year. Somebody's asking if Dave Doran's going to get fired before that game. I've told you guys he's the cockroach. I've said this on podcasts. He's like the cockroach of ACC coaching. I thought he was going to pull like a 9-10 win season out of his behind this year, and he has not. They look as bad as Wake, or it seems like Wake's maybe kind of like sort of bad, and then you have like Stanford and like the real kind of what Virginia Tech was with Pry. I'm curious if Wake's a little bit better than maybe we gave them credit for. But
I think Wake is I think Key overplayed it a little bit last week with how impressed he was. Like they're a scrappy team that plays really hard, and I really do like that coach. I think he's going to be a decent coach for them. Like
I thought they had a great defensive scheme to confuse Haynes King. They were really mixing it up in the front, and they had him seeing ghosts out there, like he was rattled. And just made him uncomfortable in the pocket. And they weren't necessarily the pocket was fairly clean most of the time. He just was not enjoying what they were doing, the twists and the different games they were playing up front. Apparently Wanye had with a PAT block. Nice.
I was about to.
Return for 2. Sweet. I'm happy. I love Wanya. Wanya's a great kid. Yeah, I know he irritates some people on social media sometimes, but him and Reek were both really great kids during their time at Tech. And we're put in a situation that's very difficult for someone to get developed in with what was going on around them with coaching staff. Justin wants to know, are we the worst undefeated team ever? I'm just kidding. I think this is they haven't played really well at all this year in any game, other than maybe that first quarter of that Temple game. Even the Gardner Webb game was a little weird, like to start with, and then they just out athleted them. It's been weird. There hasn't been like a game where they've, I guess, Clemson to an extent they rose up in that game, but Clemson was not great. I don't know. It's been weird. They've kind of just played with whoever they were playing that week. Temple was sort of the exception of that, where I think that team's probably better than I think, some of us gave them credit for. I think that guy can coach. I think Dicker can coach at Wake too. Like, I think he'll do well if they invest in the product. I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Alex? Like,
I think
you as someone as a lifelong got blood in this. What do you think?
It's different than it's ever like. We've played good close games and gone the other way so many times, and I agree we've not played well this year, very like complete games, but good teams find ways to win those games, and apparently they're pretty good because they're 5-0. I think Bill Parcells has the famous quote, "You are what your record says you are." So 5-0 is 5-0, whether it's ugly, pretty, or anything in between. It's 5-0 going to the bye week, and hopefully get some things figured out. But can't complain about a 5-0 start. Yeah, I mean, 2014. I think.
Ian, I'll come back to your question here, by the way, but this is an interesting point. Is it the Syracuse game? Yeah, it was similar to that. It was kind of a low energy. They, to Wake's credit, they actually had a decent crowd. That's the most people I've seen there in a few years. For those who don't know, I covered Wake for a little while. So I kind of, when I was just trying to hustle after becoming a single dad and stuff, I did some Wake stuff for a while. And so I was familiar. I was tight with some people there. And yeah, it reminded me a lot of that game where it's a noon kickoff. You're playing somebody who hasn't looked very good this season, and you just come out of the gate and the defense played okay to start the game, and then when the offense wasn't clicking, they kind of went into the tank too. And that was a huge issue the previous 2 years. Like when the offense wasn't playing well, the defense kind of tanked out too. So I don't know, but yeah, I could see that.
I mean, the Louisville game comes to mind too. Last year in September, it was right before the bye week, and they were, I don't know, as inconsistent. Like they didn't play all that well. They had a chance, and it didn't go their way. So, yeah, I mean,
so I think and I think Seb brought this up on the board, but like it reminded me a lot of 2014. I was explaining this to Chad Bishop from the AJC because I think he might have been, I don't know if he went to that game or not as a fan. He's a Georgia Southern grad and fan. And we were talking about, it was like, it reminded me so much of that 14 game where they had no business winning over Georgia Southern. They made like a freaky play to get the ball back and won that game late in regulation, as I recall. And they just sleptwalked through that whole game, and Georgia Southern was putting it on them, which they've done every time they play at Georgia or Bama or whatever. Over the years, for whatever reason, they play really up for those games, especially in that era. And it reminded me a lot of that. Like, and I don't know why that happens. I mean, obviously, you saw it with Clemson and Troy, 3 weeks ago or whatever. Like, they were getting killed at the half in that game. So, I think there's so much roster parity now. Like everyone has players, everyone's got older kids, whether you're pulling them from the FCS or G6 teams, or you're pulling them from transfers from other schools who weren't playing, like an EJ Lightsey at Georgia Tech. There's all these different guys that can play now, and so it kind of bridges some of that gap. You don't see as huge cliffs as used to see when like you were just stuck with your roster, and when you got young you sucked, or like when you had injuries like 2015 at Georgia Tech when they had key injuries at key spots, then you just have a bad season. There's not as much of that, and everyone, that's why, I mean, it's hard to pick the league now. Look at how many favorites lost this week, or how many favorites didn't cover. What were the favorites that covered this week? Louisville was one, but like they had to come back. They were getting killed in that game. They had to come back. Florida State lost. Georgia Tech didn't cover.
Duke won. They were 6-point favorite, and they won by a ton.
BC lost. They were the favorite in that game. Stanford didn't cover in their game with San Jose State.
They had I think they scored with like 40 seconds left. That's what I saw, right, to take the lead.
Who else played? NC State obviously didn't cover. They lost in their game to Virginia Tech. Like it was, I mean, they're going to build some extra casinos if you're betting on ACC football this year. And Duke has been the one team to me that was so disappointing the first couple weeks of the season, because I thought they'd be better. It looked like maybe they turned the corner. Yeah, I don't think Stanford was favored, right, Alex?
Yeah, 2.5 is what I had.
Maybe it moved before the game, but Katie wants to know if that was the most pathetic field rush of all time. UGA definitely did not cover in their game.
That's a shame.
So it looked like I put the video on and accidentally called it the end of regulation when I meant the end of overtime or the end of the game. I was like trying to like send something out while we were getting ready to do interviews. And so and then didn't catch it till it was too late to fix it. But you see my hard pan over, there was maybe like 80 kids, 100 kids there. That would have been like the crappiest, like $50,000 fine for Wake Forest if they'd won that game. And
there's a clip. There's a clip going around social media. I think Jonathan Dwyer reposted or something. I saw it on Facebook a little while ago or somewhere, where it's the Georgia Tech fans filming the Wake Forest kids walking back up that hill and like waving at them. And
because they're probably in that corner. Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
Fans, they're usually, that's funny.
So speaking of field storming, I know that Virginia kids running down that hill, as soon as the kid hit the ground on that interception, that was about as crazy as I've seen ever. Like, some people could have really got hurt. Like, I'm all for field storming, but that was wild. I maybe want to have like a 5-second delay. That was crazy.
Yeah, everyone thought Squirrel White was dead, but they didn't realize it was Virginia, not like some SEC school where maybe they would have like had some bad frat boys like trampled a guy. But like, sorry, I had something in my eye. Then they eventually, someone showed a clip of him walking around and he was fine. I figured, because they had one of their own players down under there too. That's the other thing that people forgot.
Yeah,
is one of the Virginia players was also down. But yeah, they ran the hell out of that. That was cool seeing the Virginia fans. They've been through a lot there too. They've just really not been good since they fired Al Groh, ironically.
Tony Elliott's rebounded pretty well. They lost to NC State a few weeks ago. Now they look like one of the better teams in the ACC. That NC State game was not a conference game, by the way.
Yeah, they have an easy slate left. Relatively speaking, we say that everybody's different, right? Like, that Pitt game changed because like a couple of fluke plays. Michael Cunningham from the AJC is a big Louisville guy. He was sitting next to me at Wake Forest, the columnist from AJC, and he was watching the game and like telling us kind of what was going on. To Michael's credit, by the way, he won't cover like a Georgia Tech Louisville game. He knows to like not, because he actually has skin in the game and is a fan. So he refused to go up there, and he made someone else go the last time they played them. But yeah, it was funny. He's like, they got away with like something, and then they got him a free touchdown, and then like he was like telling me the whole story during the game. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, it was I'm happy to see some of these other teams win. I know it's not great for the playoff thing, but like it's good to see Georgia Tech start to push back up, or even Virginia to be respectable, or some of these teams that have been traditionally good, 20 or 30 years ago. Virginia Tech's the big one. Virginia Tech and Miami have been the two that have kind of let the conference down the most, along with Georgia Tech over the last decade. And we'll see if Miami can keep it up. That's going to be really interesting this weekend.
That's at Florida State, right?
I am not sure.
I could see Florida State kind of bouncing back for that kind of game and giving some trouble for Miami.
I'll go back to Ian's question because I promised it would, and I didn't want to forget it. At what point did it start to worry? I think Alex was worried the whole time. Alex, I think, was struggling with the is at FSU. Alex was struggling after the game to like even get his story done. I had like filed everything, got in my car, drove like somewhere to eat dinner, and like had eaten dinner, and I think that's when Alex put his story up.
I finally
I'd done
posted
videos, my stories, my story, like posted stuff, like, and Alex was like, "Yeah, I'm still like trying to collect." I was like, "All right."
I didn't want to.
You would have been dead if you'd been at that Georgia game, man. Like I don't know, you would have made it home that night.
That would have tested me. I think I posted
been arrested for running onto the field
last night. I think I posted last night about 8:00 finally, but yeah, I didn't want to. And I feel like I hit a pretty good balance in that of not like, yeah, we're 5-0, but also like there's a whole lot of stuff to fix. And I mean, both sides of the
list
ball
is long, brother.
Both sides of the ball is like they play well at times and they play not very good at times. And I don't know if it's personnel changes. I don't know whatever it is, but that's what the bye week's for, is to kind of reassess and, figure out what the best plan forward is. I mean, we're 5-0, so you'd better do it 5-0 than 3-2 or whatever. So,
to answer Ian's question, I was pretty optimistic. Like I just thought either like King would figure it out, or maybe they'd put Aaron in and he would do something like sort of the Virginia Tech game, but earlier when there was enough time to do something. I like figured one of those things was going to happen. Either Haynes would come out of the locker room and play like he does, and have gotten it together, which he did, or they would make a change and try to spark the team. And so I was it was up until they got the first down right before the offsides play. That first down there was I was like, oh, this is not good. That was when I started to be like, I don't know. I wasn't like Chad. Chad had written like a Tech loses story. And I was like, this is too close of a game to like do that, like one way or the other. I don't want to have to delete a whole story. After that Miami game a few years ago, I've stopped doing that. Like, until like the bitter end.
I've done that so many times on Friday nights covering high school football, where I write my story in the press box and have to just completely redo it. And I try not to do that very much. I'll tell you what,
this dude's right, man. Like and I'll say dude, because I looked at the breakdown of gender specifics on the it's as much as I love Rush, this is even more male centric than Rush, our audience. But both I've how many games have we seen where somebody has to come back? Like you just don't process it because it's not, if you don't have skin in the game. But look at what the guys down the road in Athens, how many times they've pulled something out of their tush, like in games they should have lost to whoever. So the Tennessee game a couple weeks ago, they should have lost that.
And that's a big reason why I'm not going to be talked to on social media by those fans about people getting fortunate, because there's so many times where Georgia has just found a way, or things have gone their way, or I don't know. That just got me last night. But I tell you what, the game yesterday, I feel like, and I think I even texted Kelly.
Yes.
I think I texted Kelly when it happened, was when we got pretty conservative there in the goal to go situation and ran it 3 times, kicked the field goal to tie it at 2020. I was like, man, that was I felt like that was where the game was if
That's
it would
why
have ended
Kirby
up,
lost yesterday, though, because he
yeah,
didn't kick that field goal. They went
yeah.
for it and and a guy made a great play to that was the difference in their game, really. Because did Bama score in the second half of that game? I don't even know. I
No,
don't think
that was
so.
that was one of my more favorite lines of my perusing of the Georgia message boards was the thread title was Coach Bobo is such a great coach, and then that's the subject of he couldn't overcome the 0 points our defense allowed in the second half. So it was pretty good reading last night. But yeah, I mean, I felt good after the guy missed the field goal, and then we fumble it right back, and
And that
it
was the
was
flip
a
too. Jamal never fumbles the ball. Like he
right.
was just off. I felt so bad for him in a way, and I guess it says that it's. I think it's one of those situations. If Maddox is healthier and had played some this year, maybe they don't put all that on him, and maybe they need to play Dalen or something more because like they were still trying to force him, and he was just it was not happening. He did not look like himself. He had a couple games like that last year when he wasn't healthy, and he's like half of the player he normally is, and just was struggling. Um,
That was the first question on the board is about the running back situation. About obviously Jamal did not look explosive like he always does, and then maybe Hosley got dinged up a little bit yesterday
I
too.
didn't see that, but I mean, it would explain why he wasn't in as much as I thought. Maybe they should have played him. I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm interested if he's banged up too. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Because
didn't.
going into the game, there was some talk that maybe they were going to try to work Maddox in during the game, thinking that they would have a situation where they were in control of the game at some point enough to maybe put him in for a series. But I guess the thought was you don't want to give him his first touches of the year in that situation because at least Dalen had run a couple times in a game this year. And but yeah, I don't know if Hulsley like opened the game was great. He had a couple great runs, got them going downhill, and then they pulled him out, put Jamal back in because Jamal didn't start. Somebody on YouTube, one of the maybe a YouTube comment or something, said that Carney didn't play in the first half. That's incorrect. Carney started the game. They were alternating him and Riggs, and then kind of stuck with Carney the rest of the game. After that, they alternated for a little bit though.
There was a play, I think I don't remember when it was, maybe in third quarter, that it was like a QB counter, and um, Carney came around and went through the hole and like just blocked the whole pile instead of blocking the guy in front of him, and Rutledge like kind of gave him the business about it. It just showed like Rutledge is the leader of that group, no question, and he he's very valuable with that group. He leads them and he holds them accountable. So that's what you want.
So Ian's bringing up a good point. I think so. This goes back to this is something Alex I think talked. Did we talk about this on the phone today?
Might have.
With about Byerly.
Yeah. Byerly and Justin Thomas.
So Justin Thomas, I guess was in the 14 season.
I believe it's
Well, he got
early.
hurt in the Duke game, and he kept playing, and it cost them that game because he was not himself. They like it seemed like an intentional injury situation. Like they rolled him, and twisted him at the end of a play, and he was not himself and wasn't playing well. And they waited too long to put Tim in the game. It is a tough thing because Haynes is the leader of the team, and he's the guy, and he is the reason why they're in the position they're in, right? But if he's sick or not able to do the basic stuff to run the offense, at some point you maybe think about that. Dorian Barney just flipped to Ole Miss, by the way.
Wow.
So there's your breaking news. Georgia Tech decided to take a pass on that one. Uh, sorry. So with the Philo thing, I think the thing there, why you could make a case for it, I guess, would be what was working for them, which was the out routes and those type of throws, which he's very good at. And they were in a situation where you probably needed to throw the ball. So that's the counter argument. And if the offense isn't doing anything for which I don't have the book with me, but it was a slog. They had a bunch of drives that were like 3 to 6 to 7 plays for like 20 yards or less. and it was not good.
I got the stats right here. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the middle of the Clemson game, I think. Like, and Temple, like there's that middle portion of the game. On Saturday, it was the first 2.5 quarters against Wake Forest. But like, I don't know. Sometimes it looks like it gets out of kilter and it doesn't. It's not operating smoothly, and King's not seeing everything. And King is one of the toughest kids that's ever played. Like, his reputation and his place in Georgia Tech history, I think, is pretty much sealed already as like a fan favorite. So no, but nothing against him. But like when you're in a game on the road, and you've got to win the game, and things aren't moving offensively.
And so that's where the Key comes into this, because Key
Yeah,
believes in him ultimately at the end of the day, more so than probably anyone else on the staff, even, I would say. Key's gonna ride or die with Haynes, and that's cool. Like, I understand that. Like, I watched Nesbitt not play well in games, and Justin Thomas, and who are many other quarterbacks I've covered over the years. So it's not even limited to just Georgia Tech. So like, I get it, and he's the heart and soul of your team, and he's the reason why he is so much of the reason why you've had the success you've had the last couple of years. Um, but he also has some of these down games. And I think some of it's probably physical, mental toll of what he has to do to win these games every week, too. Like, when you're playing, they've been in a pressure cooker basically all season, except for the Gardner Webb game and the second half of the Temple game, right? Like, maybe, because even that was a little funky.
Yeah, the last quarter and a half. I mean, it was a one possession game at the first of the third quarter against Temple. So, I mean, yeah, when King's got 21 carries like he did yesterday and taking big hits, like he's probably not gonna feel very good going back to the huddle and trying to throw the ball down the field and
Well, and that's where you would hope, and that's where you want to see Buster like come up with some things to get him going, and that's maybe where this has got to. They've got to figure that out. What is the thing that's going to get Haynes King going? More than just QB runs, because that seems to have some effect, like when he busts one or like gets going, but like something else, like whether it's the screen game or slants or there's got to be something they can do to get him going. And yeah, he's trying to protect the ball a lot. You see that with his decision making and trying not to turn the ball over. I think everything that happened in 23 has changed him. Yeah, Ian's saying tempo. Maybe it is tempo, but I think they're trying to give the defense a break a lot of the time. So I don't know. They've got to figure it out. And everyone gets mad when they go tempo, and everyone gets mad when they go tempo and they go 3 and out. And that's the danger with going with tempo.
I mean, third quarter they went tempo, and like it worked out pretty well when they were down, big.
Yeah, because you had to there. You needed to start scoring points. That was that first drive they scored a touchdown on. Was that the one that Rivers got the touchdown on that drive?
Yeah, where King scrambled around and had forever, and I thought he just like threw it up. You can
Yeah, I thought
see.
he threw it out of the end zone at first.
Yeah.
But I saw Rivers standing there. It just seemed weird that he was all alone in the end zone like that. Like, and then there was the flag. I was like, did they run like some weird delayed pick downfield or
Yeah,
something?
that's exactly when I saw that flag. I was like, man, it's somebody picked somebody in the end zone. It's gonna come back, but yeah, they grabbed a canyon from behind. I'll say this about the offense. They kind of last year at the bye week, coming out of the bye week, they played Duke, and I think the Carolina game. The offense kind of got going a little bit right there in the middle of the season before King had to miss that time. So maybe that's the same kind of thing. They're going to kind of reevaluate at the bye week and get going again. And without the injury that they had last year, hopefully
So
be
the
good.
other thing too to think there, man, is like in the running game, Maddox is back now, and you should have. I think you might have Chad Alexander for Virginia Tech. That gives you 4 guys that have all played that can do things. And Chad's kind of a 1-for-1 with Jamal in a lot of ways. They can do the same sort of stuff. As much as they love Dalen, I guess they don't. They're not as confident with him in those situations because he is just a little bit smaller. So maybe Chad gives you that spark, because he was the spark last year when he was healthy. And then Maddox can give you the hammer. Those fullback dives, all that stuff was for Maddox, and we haven't seen any of it this year because he's been hurt. And that was interesting that they didn't actually try that on Saturday either, with the two backs and some short yardage stuff with the dive.
I think King, with that last comment, I think King, well, you could see it with his footwork and stuff yesterday. Like he wasn't. It's like he was rushing everything, and he wasn't stepping into his throws. Like I don't know what the deal was. He got hit early, I believe, and I don't know. He might not be sure about the interior of the offensive line holding up. I don't know. It was a weird sequence for him, that for those first several drives where he didn't look like himself at all. So, but he got it together.
Their best line they didn't have in the game either, which I think is getting overlooked a little bit as well. The loss of Tana and at center, I thought the best line they had this year was with Tana at center and Harrison at left guard. And like Fusel played the entire game and didn't have a great game. And they don't really have, all they have is young kids really behind him. So without Tana being able to come and play center and slide Harrison over. So and that's sort of a problematic spot for them right now. I think they need to figure out how to get that left guard spot going, because the right side, they're running the ball well. That's where they're getting a lot of the big plays with Haynes in the run game. And that seems Malachi and Keelan seem to be doing a pretty good job there. Their pass blocking's been fine. McKinney's done a good job with pass blocking on the left side. The left guard spot and center has been inconsistent the whole season, and they've got to figure that out, because that's not helping them either on the inside of their box. When you have just that inconsistent play week to week, and some of it's just you got two really young guys with Tana and Harrison, and then that guy with like Joe's physically like giving it all the program, but maybe he's maxed out or something. I don't know, or he's just not healthy still, but he's not being as effective as he was 2 years ago, and I don't know why that is. That's sort of a fascinating thing. We don't know anything about injuries, so like you guys can ask about Kilo or the long snapper. Won't know anything. They're trying to do. There's some decompression going on, I think, with staff. They're going to go do some other stuff.
I think wasn't it Lightsey that was down for a while in late yesterday too? I can't remember. Or might have been Cayman Spalding. I don't remember. One of the linebackers got hurt, but
yeah, I don't remember.
We'll figure out something.
Someone's asking about Petty. I mean, McKinney's been your best tackle this season. You're not going to sit him. Petty's not big enough to play guard, so that's kind of a problematic situation. I don't think they want to move McKinney to guard. So,
reading all this stuff.
Well, the reason why game day is not in Tallahassee is because they lost. If they beat Virginia, right, I'm pretty sure that's an easy call for them to go to Tallahassee for Miami, Florida State. I think you got a hot Bama team, and Vanderbilt is playing really well. We'll certainly find out a lot more about them on Saturday, but no, it's not just weight, man. Like, it's physical strength, right? Like, if you're whatever, think about like whatever size you are, you're a 160-pound dude. If you were 130 pounds, what would your level of body strength be compared to where it is at 160? Like, that's a huge part of that. Like, it's total body strength. Yes, it's adding muscle, not just like being, if you just need to eat cheeseburgers and Rice Krispie treats and whatever, then they'd be doing that and protein shakes. But that's not what he needs. He needs to put strength on.
Well, there's what I've heard from college athletes of all time. There's good weight added and there's bad weight added. And when guys just eat to gain weight, that's not what you want to do. You gotta gain it the right way. And their nutrition program is pretty good, so they're going to figure out the right way to build him up, build his weight up and his strength. So Yeah.
I was talking about the left side of the guard box, not the left side. I guess I thought I made that clear, but I guess I didn't. The center guard left, that left gap, not the left tackle. The left tackle's been your best pass blocker the entire season.
Yeah. McKinney's good. He's healthy. He's consistent. He's been very good this year. There's a question about
Just to clear that up. Here's one other. I'll get to this real quick. Sorry.
Gotcha.
The bye week. So what do they do on the bye week? So on the bye week, it's so you do self scouting is a big part of it. You try to get guys healthy. One of the big things this week too is they're gonna I'm sure will focus on all the guys on the edge of playing. So the Kevin P, Josh Petty, Peyton Josephs on the offensive line, Tay Harris at safety, Elgin Sessions at corner. Like all of these guys that are sort of on the edge of playing that maybe haven't played much this year or are starting to play more. Montre Bradford at the rush end and Dre Fuller. All of those guys get like a heavy focus this week. Luke Harpring. And then like at receiver, there's some guys, Jordan Allen, who may end up having to play a role this season. DeBron Gatling, who's a guy who's right on the edge of getting bigger playing time. Those guys get more of a focus. Like Philo and Knowles will probably do more of the offensive stuff this week. They'll try to get King a break. Maybe Grady Adamson gets more work than he's probably been just doing scout team. When they do 11-11. Stuff like that. That's the Shane Marshall and JP Powell, all those guys. They try to basically let those guys play football. So they won't do a normal game week where you're doing scouts and game planning and bringing the team up. They'll just play football and let those guys, and they'll do what they've typically done is they've had specific days where they really focus on player development stuff. And they'll have some time off. They'll be off probably Friday, Saturday, and come back Sunday. So they'll have from the end of practice on Thursday to whatever, something like that. And someone's talking about Petty. Petty is young, and he's trying to build himself out. So give it time. These guys, it's tough to play. The closer you are to the ball, the harder it is to play as a freshman. That's the adage, right? And there's a couple guys kind of skirting around that, the Christian Garretts and the Dre Fullers, and some of those guys are being a little. Ethan McKinney was an exception to that, but you saw that season that McKinney started in 23. He kind of got burned out in the middle of the season because he was probably playing too much and his body started to break down. And mentally, was starting to get a little cooked too. And that's what I think he's also trying to manage because they may have a long season. You might play 15 games. Like if you're in a situation where you're playing a conference championship, you're adding another game plus a bowl, that's 14. Like, so you got to try to have your team stay healthy.
He did. McKinney, when he talked to us a few weeks ago, he did say he's had horrible injury luck. Even going back to high school, like he hadn't had a year where he's been fully healthy until really this year. And even he told us that story about him popping his thumb out or something in one of the scrimmages.
Oh yeah, that was gnarly.
So yeah, I mean he's been snake bitten, but he's as healthy as he's been in a while this year. But I think John commented a few. Yeah, that's going to be a part of the bye week too. The coaches are going to go out.
So they've held all their visits. The only coaches who've been out have been like Corey Peebles and Buster seeing their kids play, or whoever else has kids of age that play.
Buster.
They're going to go out and they're probably going to do more like intense where they go. Maybe Jess goes to see Freddie Wilson or whatever, like stuff like that. Like they're going to be out on the road a little bit Thursday and Friday. And if there's any Saturday games, it might even be out Saturday.
I'll be out on the road too. I'm making some practice trips, I believe, this week for some.
Not trying to jinx anything, man. Let's take a pause for a second here, and then we'll really start to dive into the questions from the board and thank our sponsors, Section 103, Alex's favorite place to get Georgia Tech gear.
That's right. Let me grab this jacket set. Goes good
Well, that's
with
what the Wake
stripes.
Forest people think the refs were wearing in the game. Now you're going to really bring out the tinfoil Wake Forest fans, dude. And I feel bad for those guys. They've had a terrible time. Section 103, get the best of your Georgia Tech gear. Haynes King t-shirt there, the North Avenue Trade School. They constantly have new stuff. You get the Brett Key hoodie, one of the many hoodies of Brett Key. And it's stuff for Tech fans made by Tech fans. It doesn't get any better than that. And mom and pop operations, support them. You can go check out their website, section103.com, or you can go check them out at a game. They usually have a little truck set up on campus near the stadium. So check them out, check out their socials, and support Georgia Tech people making stuff for Georgia Tech fans.
And they've got a newish line of polos from a couple months ago that I don't know if I'll give it full credit, but that polo and the Rowback polo I got a few months ago were undefeated in those. So those haven't been washed yet. And they won't be for a while, hopefully. So,
all right. So I'll address this real quick because I'm sure there's just like 12 questions about this in the thing too.
Yeah.
I have no idea about Aquila. I've seen guys where I thought they blew out their knee and they're fine. I've seen guys that looked fine and like limped off and they tore their ACL. So like, there's literally no way to speculate that the medical tent from where we were was on the complete other side of the field, as far away from where we were as you could be in the stadium before the stands. So I have no idea. I didn't see them after the game. They were loaded up on the bus by the time we got out of our last media thing. We interviewed, I think it was Aiden and EJ maybe, or Clayton Pelly and Aiden Burr. So don't know about Aquila. We'll find out. I hope I'm fingers crossed for that kid. I don't want him to, have a ruined senior season at Georgia Tech after coming back. He's been playing really well. But, the good news there is they have some Landon Marshall's played well at times. Shameik Jones has started to come on a little bit. He's like your best inside pass rush guy. So it would be a loss there.
Yeah. I was reading that. Yeah, Dorian Barney, I don't think was a possibility.
No, I mentioned it when I said that he committed a few minutes ago on the thing. They decided they were pretty set at corner. They toyed with the idea of taking a fourth. I think they're really happy with Dalen Penson and Sessions and what they have coming back. And so I think that made them decide to not pursue another corner in the high school class. So they're going to stick with the three they got. I think if you'd seen more guys taking visits and flirting around a little more, maybe they get around, but we'll see.
Yep.
When's the next ratings update? I don't know. So you guys are we're learning a new system here, so I don't know how often. I think they update their rankings more often than Rivals was doing it, but I would have to ask. I don't know when the next. We're not involved at all in the process. So that's interesting. Neither is someone like Chad Simmons or Sam Spiegelman or any of those guys. They actually have a group of independent dudes that do the evaluations that's totally separate from them, that don't have to talk to players, I guess, to take that aspect of it out.
They had, it's been pretty recent that they had a ratings update within the last, I would say, 2 weeks maybe. I remember seeing some lists of the top 10 receivers in the country, and there was a pretty big omission in my opinion. But yeah, I think they recently did one. So I don't know, might be another month or so.
Yeah, once the season starts, man, it's hard. We get real tunnel visioned in what we're doing. When will PFF do high school players? That would be literally the crappiest job of all time. Because there's so many dudes like me playing high scholl football, and undersized offensive linemen just getting pancaked by some dude, or getting just railroaded by a Christian Garrett or something on a play, and quarterback getting sacked or something. There's too much of that. Go watch that viral Arch Manning video that people put up of who he played in high school as an example of that.
Go watch that clip recently of the kid that like got blocked to the ground, and the 400-pound lineman did a swan
broke
dive
his
on
spine.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy. That was a crazy clip. There's a question about Buster Faulkner. I think you've mentioned before these scripts plays. Do you think that's part of the first half struggles?
Everyone scripts the opening couple plays, and then he'll have a list of shot plays, and so a shot play would be like, say they intercept the ball, you get the ball at the 40, like about half the time, someone will throw a vertical right after that. So that's kind of the shot play thing. Like, those, they have a list of those. He has a list of he has a list of each thing that they work on, or for specific situations. But usually they have an opening script, or like, this is what we're going to do on our first drive. Like, this is what we like against this defense. It also generally is a way to get looks about specific things that you're curious. If you're like doing it correctly, you'll get a look of what you want to see, like from the defense, like with certain looks, like how are they defending us when we do this motion, because they use so much motion. Like when we do orbit, like what are they doing? When we do this, what are they doing? So essentially that's what it is, in kind of a layman's way of explaining it.
Yeah, I've been told by high school coaches, and I would say probably most college offense coordinators probably script their first, 15 to 20, and then after that's kind of when you figure out what kind of, how good they really are, because you get off the script and you got to figure things out on the fly and what's working and what's not working. But yeah, I don't know, that could be part of the second quarter struggles when you get to the kind of guessing game.
Ian said he told people that Nichols would do the fake punt. The problem was, they rushed it, and Kiker didn't get to the sticks, and he was like, half a yard short or whatever it was. Like, the timing just was a little funky on it, where the ball was underthrown or whatever. I don't know which it was, but he caught it, but it was just short.
Yeah,
but it seemed like maybe that the catch would have been reviewed too, had it been like actually at the sticks or not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess they did review it, didn't they?
They kind of reviewed it during the commercial break, I think.
Yeah.
It was, it wasn't close
Brother,
enough.
everybody's concerned about it. You only got a couple of sacks this year. Like, it is clearly a concern. I agree that you said Amontre Bradford should play more. I concur with you there. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of Christian Garrett. He didn't play Saturday. I wonder if he's hurt or sick or something. Hoffler struggled. I thought Manley actually played his best game.
He forced the fumble there that they didn't recover.
Yeah, he actually played pretty well, but they're not getting a ton from the older guys. Triplett was okay in that game. He's still kind of working his way back. But yeah, Hoffler's was their big pickup along with Manley, and he's not delivered so far. But he was hurt for a while. He's missed most of the spring with a hamstring, and then got hurt again in camp, and then was shut down for the first few games. So I don't know what's going on with him, but he has not looked as good as he did at Clemson. So I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's a health thing or confidence or just getting the rust off or whatever, but he needs to step up if he's going to play whatever he played in the last game. I don't know. What did he play? Look it up.
I mean, I mentioned that in my takeaways last night of like the defense at the bye week. They're probably going to take a long look at what's working, who's working, and maybe some personnel.
43 of 74 snaps, I think it was. Yeah, it's way too much.
So yeah, I mean, no turnovers either yesterday. You count the last
well, they
two
had some.
conversions.
They had one reversed and one that didn't count.
Right, and
Clayton's didn't count for the stat sheet.
Yeah, so yeah, that's gotta change. I mean, they know it, so I'm sure that'll be a point of emphasis. Let's see. We talked about defense. Looking through here. There's a question about why was Jamal Haynes used when he was hurting? Well, he's your number one running back, and if he's kind of earned the right to say if he feels good enough to go. Then if it was a younger player, like they would, I think they would have a more.
It's sort of like the Haynes King thing that
Yeah.
in a different. It's different, but it's a similar thing. This guy has been kind of your rock.
And especially if Hosley was banged up, which I don't know if that was a true thing. I don't want to.
Yeah, I didn't see him come off lame or anything, but yeah, just like but I agree. Like like I said earlier, I think if Chad's healthy, if Maddox had played some this year, maybe that's a different story, and maybe you don't see Jamal as much. I was a little surprised to see him in a couple of situations down the stretch, but maybe if Hulsley was really banged up, that makes more sense because they did use Dalen in like a critical situation, and he ran the ball. Was it in overtime? Or the last drive regulation, but he had like a 5-yard run that was an important run in the game.
I think that was the second to last drive when they might have gotten close to midfield, and then they had the 3 incomplete passes and punted, if I remember correctly. I'm looking through trying to. There's a question about the games between the bye weeks. Can we go 4-0 between the byes without 80 carries from Haynes King? I mean, well, hopefully that would be the ideal thing.
Haynes King's probably soaking in a tub of ice somewhere right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a question about can you ask the coach about the run defense and how we've gone from top 30 to 100th? I mean, new players, new scheme. I think it's all everything's trying to get figured out right now. And like I said,
it is different what they're doing. And last year they just got picked apart in the air, so it's sort of a pick your poison. And they've played some good running backs. I mean, the Claiborne kid's really good. Obviously, Clemson, the Randall kid's explosive. He's had some big runs. He had a good day against them, and they've played a lot of mobile quarterbacks who've eaten against them. Obviously, I think that's hurt a lot too. That shifted the running stats a little bit, and they've been in close games where teams haven't had to chuck it as much either. It is a little bend, but don't break.
Yeah, it is right now.
Duke is a tougher test between NC State and
I
think Alex would agree with that, right?
Yeah, at Duke, the way they're playing right now is looking tougher than NC State, which is kind of fallen off a cliff since that Wake Forest game a few weeks ago.
And they're trying stuff with the run game. They've been put in the 4-3 defense quite a bit. They've played quite a bit of it the last 2 games. It was really effective last week, and it was not effective at all this past week because linebackers weren't playing well. So, like, it was a weird game, man. Like, they just had so many things. If one thing was a little better, maybe it's, it doesn't come down to overtime or whatever. If King was sharp early in the game, throwing the football, or, the linebackers are playing better and cleaning things up a little better. Because the big thing that stood out to me was the amount of missed tackles. I'll be curious to see what Brent says about that, because that was what killed them in the game. They had so many times where they were giving up extra yards or got, pushed or held out of a play and got blown off the ball. And it was weird because the offense was blowing Wake off the ball on the opening drive until Jamal came in, and then it seemed that it kind of stopped for whatever reason. I don't know what that was about either.
Well, they, the playing on Wake's touchdown in overtime there, the Eford was in the backfield and had a good shot at Claiborne, and he's a good running back. He made him miss and went the whole way. So, but we talked about earlier too, the play that kind of changed the momentum, I think, in the second half was when Eford chased down Ashford on that ankle tackle and kind of banged him up a little bit, and that kind of changed the way Wake's offense was running. So yeah, you get some good and some bad, but they're gonna figure
Ian's
out.
he's saying something about the APM kick. I think it would be better if it's 8 p.m. kick than at noon. I think the crowd will be better. They're they're undefeated. Like, this is when you guys got to show up and do your bit as a fan. Like, this is your time. Like, drop whatever you're doing. You're not gonna have a kids soccer game at 8 p.m. So figure it out. Get down the state. It's not like Alex and I have to get there 2.5 hours before the game. Like, y'all don't have to do that. Like, y'all can get down there right at kick, right after kick, whatever. Go down and support your team, man. Like,
Well, you wanna be
there's
there early
no
enough.
shaky knees that week either, I don't think.
Well, you want to
So
be there early enough to see the. I think Tucker Wetmore is the.
who's that? I don't know.
I think he's a country guy. He's the hell of a
Not,
block
no
party.
shade. I just don't know who they are. Like, I
I
wasn't
didn't
trying
know
to
him
shade
either.
them, like who they brought out. It could have been like the top country artist for all I know. I just don't know who that is.
I didn't know him either. I had to look him up. But yeah, he's the guy for the Virginia Tech game. So get there early.
Well, maybe they
I think
shot
he's
their
pretty
shot
popular.
with Philip Montgomery as the interim coach in their first game back. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they're 1-0 in the ACC. So
Yeah, all those guys are going to talk about you guys got to just let it go, man. Like, Pate, all those dudes, they're going to talk about it because it's a talking point this week. Because everyone hates officiating, so that's going to be that's an easy target.
Hey.
So no offense, Alex. Well, you're retired anyway.
That's right. I'm on the shelf. I would yell at myself too much.
If you want, I'll DM Pate the strip sack and get him to talk about that too. See if he'll talk about that.
Or maybe the targeting that literally the Alabama guy got called for targeting for jumping into the pile and doing the exact same thing that happened to in the Georgia game last year. So officiating goes. I mean,
comments are off the chain tonight.
Yeah.
And you know what, man? Like, the thing I'll tell y'all, cool. People are upset because you won a football game because things are going things are going well for Georgia Tech. You're gonna embrace it. You're gonna get everybody's crap every week. You're gonna get moved around in the ratings based on how you play each week now going forward. Like, there's gonna be tons of stuff. All you can do is keep winning the game, and that's all I would say. Like, enjoy this moment. It's been literally a decade, and a decade and 9 months or whatever since the last time you've had something like this to be excited about. So enjoy it.
I read it in the notes today from the release about the ratings. The Georgia Tech has been 5-0 4 times in the last 59 years, maybe. I'm pretty sure that's what I read. So yeah, different times. You gotta appreciate it. 5-0, whether it's pretty or ugly.
It was a fumble. He was gripping the ball tighter and coming down. Like, that's a fumble, dude. Like, I get that there's a tuck rule and all that, but like, that's a fumble. And as this is 100% what you guys got to do, man. We live in a world where everybody hates everyone all the time about everything that they don't agree with, or sometimes even the people that they agree with just because they don't like them. So enjoy being hated by college football for a week, Georgia Tech fans. It's been a long time since. Remember when people used to complain and moan and cry about the cut blocks and the Paul Johnson's offense and how it was dirty and guys would get hurt, even though the only serious injuries I ever saw were self-inflicted, like the Kentucky guy and the Gator Bowl that blew out, like his own teammate killed him on the field. Like, enjoy this, man. Like, this is what it is. Like, you're in the game now, so to speak, if you're a Tech fan. Like, this is the first time anyone's cared, really since the Miami game. The that game with at Hard Rock. Like, you got the attention of everybody. Make the most of it, man. Like, and this is where Key's got to show off what he can do, because he's very good at coaching an underdog, as being mentioned in the chat. He's got to learn how to coach with the league, coach with confidence, coach when you're expected to win. That's the thing where they've struggled. If you go by Vegas and spreads and all that stuff, they've struggled to cover when they've been a favorite, a large favorite, right, Alex? Like, I think it's one of I don't have a Phil Steele, but that's one of the things I wish I had a Phil Steele in front of me, because I think he has that in there with like the ATSs for each coach. But like they can. This is uncharted territory for this program in the last decade. Like, y'all enjoy this, man. Enjoy some wake, dude jumping in your comments being, douche. Like, just, and you guys don't have a job like that. Like, I can't text somebody the finger like I would want to. Like, y'all can do that, man. Like, or whatever.
Yeah, it's
This is big boy football, man. Like, it's time to embrace that, man. Defend your friend, defend your fellow Tech fans too. Like,
that's why I made it very clear yesterday. Like, do not apologize. Do not engage with people arguing. Just, you win games that way. Sometimes you get breaks. So it is what it is. You were talking about people complaining about Paul Johnson. It just reminded me of Paul Johnson, like the blocking and stuff. It reminded me of one of my traditions every year. The week of the Georgia game, I would post the differences between a chop block and a cut block for the Georgia fans that didn't know the difference. Yeah, that was.
He chop blocked it. No.
Here's a good question from the board. When will you be dropping the behind enemy lines for bye week?
Alex said you could do that as a fun exercise.
Let's see here.
It is nice doing the double buys. The single buy seasons kind of are not as fun. Like, I enjoy these seasons where they have the double buy. Last year I had the triple, which was a little less fun.
I'm gonna watch some high school football, and I'm gonna get out of town for the weekend for the bye week a little bit. So it should be a good little breaking up the season. There's a question about taking advantage of guys like Bailey Stockton, Malachi Holsley, Jordan Allen in open space. I guess like in the passing game is what they're talking about. I mean, I think they've kind of tried that, but sometimes it's not there. Like, the passing game was off totally to start the 2.5 quarters yesterday. So
thanks, Charles. I figured that was what you were doing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when you're not getting to your reads to get guys in the flats, like it's not going to be there. But I mean, there's a way they can script easier throws. I think that they can get.
We're all Monday morning quarterbacking here, though. That's the other part of it. And Wake had a good plan, man. They had King. For a veteran quarterback, they had him confused at times. It was clear like they were not giving him what he expected based on the pre-snap looks and things. And they did a good job of mixing up their fronts and trying to confuse him and dropping DNs into coverage and all kinds of stuff. Like, they did a great job, I thought, with their game plan. Traditionally Wake's been a program that's been a hard out for people. Really, until the portal came around and it stripped what they were doing well, they had been pretty successful for a long time with Clausen. They're not devoid of talent. The Claiborne kid is as good as any running back. He's an all ACC level guy to me. And that the Barnes kid in the slots is dynamic as anybody in the league too. And I thought Ashford played better than I've seen him play. He threw the ball better. Still a little off on his targeting. But
I was about to, like, when I texted a buddy of mine, the Alabama fan, during the game, and I was like, man, of course, Robbie Ashford's going to have like the best game of his college career against Georgia Tech yesterday. Like, until that play in the third quarter kind of threw him,
When he got hurt, that's what lost Wake the game more than anything. Was Kyle tripped him up. I guess he landed on his knee.
I know they put that huge knee brace on him.
And then he came back in and was ice cold when he came back in. It took him almost the entire he came in the middle of the third, I think, and it took him a couple drives to like look at remotely comfortable throwing the football. So
when he went to the locker room, I didn't think he was going to be back. So I
was shocked. I saw him jogging, which was fascinating because it looked like a knee injury. He jogged to the locker room.
Yeah, that was weird. There's a question about the Georgia Tech linebacker room. the definition of inconsistency is what this poster says. I really think the linebackers have been pretty decent overall. Like, I think they've been one of the more consistent parts of the defense. They're still figuring out how to play in space with the new defensive system, especially against the pass. I don't I don't know. Kyle Eafer gets kind of stuck out there in space sometimes, and I mean, Spalding's been rotating in, playing pretty well. I think the linebacker room has kind of been a pleasant surprise, and especially with the new depth they have there. But I don't know.
It was consistently, it's been pretty average, above average, and then it was consistently bad on Saturday. And I don't know why that was. They stopped rotating guys, which was weird. That's something we talked about on the board. Like, I think Melvin didn't even play enough snaps to like actually evaluate his PFF. Neither did Spalding. Though I guess Spalding may have got banged up too. I don't know if those guys are banged up. They basically just went with the three. They went with because they were playing some 4-3. They went with Kyle and AJ and then and Tajay when they were in the 3-back set. Yeah, Claiborne definitely kept them in the game. He is, and that's the one thing I knew going into the game that was going to be the problem was him being consistent. So Steve brought up something that's interesting that came up also. The middle of the field for King keeps missing some plays. They had another one where he had Beetham, actually, I think it was, open at another critical spot and didn't see him. There were a few different times where he got a little locked on. Ashford did the same thing a few times too, where they just got locked on that primary read. There was a play where he tried to force one to Canyon that was like there were two guys wide open on the other side of the field. He just never looked back that way. And he's never been a guy that's been traditionally one to do like the whole NFL quarterback, I'm going to scan. Like, I guess he's just not comfortable enough in the pocket most of the time to do that for whatever reason. Like, generally, he's been a 1-2, all right, 3, maybe a run, 1-2 run. This year he's done a little bit more holding the ball. I got him into trouble. I got some of the sacks in the last game, not the Wake game, but the Temple game. He got sacked because of that, holding the football too long. I don't know. But there's definitely stuff over the middle he's missing. Like, and that's never, for whatever reason, seemed like his most comfortable place to throw the football all the time.
And I think we talked about earlier too that he's sensing pressure up the middle that maybe he's seen earlier in the year that's not exactly like he's been a little jumpy with the pass protection in the middle and like kind of rushing his process, I believe. But I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't break down film that's why I'm writing about sports, not coaching. But yeah, something was off for sure yesterday.
So I'm pulled up. So PFF has like I can't show you guys this, but they have like a whole breakdown of like all of King's passing. So what you're talking about is like a 10-yard pass between the numbers, as they call it, which would be between the two hashes, right? He's got that. So to the right of that, he's pretty good throwing to the 10-yard plus ball. He's 5 of 6 this year, 79 yards. On the left, he's 0 for 1. And in the middle, he's 4 for 9 with a pick. And it's his worst like NFL QBR rating of any of these throws. There's deep left, deep middle, deep right. Then the 10 plus, there's 12 different possibilities. There's behind the line of scrimmage, 0 to 10 yards, which is the majority of King's throws are actually 0 to 10 yards in the middle or to the right. And his numbers are great throwing those balls. And then they go down a lot, but the deeper shots are, so it's interesting because the ball he's best at throwing at this season is deep right. Go back to last year. It's interesting because last year he was better at that 10-yard in the middle throw. So he was 16 to 25 for 289 last year throwing that. And obviously he didn't throw as much. After he hurt his arm. So that's interesting. The deep middle throws have been where he's been down compared to the past for him. Going back to 20, as going back to his first year at Tech. A lot more vertical shots that first year with a lot more interceptions. He threw most of his picks on those deep balls. So it's interesting. They're not fit. Brent talked about this in his post game. They're not 50-50. They're 80-20 balls. That's what we called them.
I mean, maybe they take maybe he takes a few more risky throws in the second half of the season, but he's worked really hard on getting, not being a quarterback that throws goofy picks like he did that first year. So
no, he led the country in interceptions, but he was behind the Hawaii quarterback who threw the ball like twice as much as he did or something that season. Like he was like a true air raid guy that was throwing 60 times a game. Like, and King, was throwing 30 and throwing a lot of picks.
Here's a good question from the board. What up and comers from the last two classes do you expect us to seriously contribute the second half of the season?
So the last two, Bradford we talked about.
Yeah.
Christian Garrett, I'm really curious what they do with him. I think he has a lot of potential as an edge setter. I don't know if he's dinged or something's going on there. Tay Harris, maybe.
Yeah.
Will we see him? Defense.
Yeah. He's played gradually more in the last 3 games.
Tajay's been playing more. Tajay's actually a true sophomore. Right, isn't that right? Is it Tajay a true sophomore or is he a third year?
He's a sophomore, yeah. He didn't redshirt, did he?
I don't think so. I think, he's a true sophomore. I always feel like Tajay's older than he is because I saw Tajay at a Rivals camp when he was a freshman in high school and outside of New Orleans. And so that was when I first met him. And I've followed his recruitment obviously since then. And so he always seems older than he is to me because that was, right after COVID or whatever. So it was one of the first camps we did, I think, after that.
I was thinking on the offensive side of the ball, most of the spots on offense is jam packed with more experienced guys. I mean, I think Jordan Allen could work his way into a little bit bigger role.
If they need him, I think that's one of those those young running backs. Do you see them because they burned JP and Shane's shirt? I think in the game.
Yeah. Marshall finally got to return a kick for the first time this year, which is crazy. We're in game 5 and you finally got a kick return.
You got a couple. They were okay.
Yeah.
That's tough because he hasn't touched the ball. It's I feel for him there because if you haven't touched the ball, it's a weird deal.
I was thinking, offensive line's not the younger guys unless something crazy happens to the guys in front of them. They're not going to see a ton of playing time, I wouldn't think. You never know what's going to happen, but hopefully injury-wise, they stay away from big injuries like they did in October last year. Kind of derailed the middle of the season. But yeah, I don't.
Other offensive guys, Harpring, he's starting to play more.
Yeah.
Harrison and Tana, obviously, on the O-line. Will we see a Peyton Joseph or Petty or Kevin P? That's going to be interesting. Can P push to get some of those Fusel snaps? Jamison Riggs has been playing more. Those guys are all starting to get some more burn. That's probably about it because Bailey redshirted, so he's a third-year guy, right? He's a redshirt sophomore. Yeah, because he's a year ahead of Philo.
Yeah.
So that's probably about it.
Unless they start
maybe Sessions or something like that. You could see Elgin Sessions. I still think Penson's probably not ready. Like I said, Tay Harris. That's probably about it.
Yeah, with all the experience at safeties, like guys like how's
Well,
that?
Jai does a nice job when they slide him back there. Like you got if Savion gets healthy at some point, you have him. He was playing really well before he got hurt. And then you have Clayton and Omar who have been consistent though. Neither one of them had their best day either in that weight game.
I don't remember where if it was on our game thread or if it was on Twitter yesterday during the game, but
Mr.
somebody said
Killjoy
that
in the chat there.
somebody said about Jai Gilmore's playing like an all ACC type of defensive back, and he's been a humongous pickup. They got him in the post spring portal last year. He's been very, very valuable for them. So
He's like a utility infielder that can hit, that can play like multiple positions. Because the thing with Jai too, he can play corner. Like
yeah,
he can play safety. He can play safety. He plays nickel primarily. He he just the money will be there if they need it. Someone's asking about if they have success money. That's always going to be an issue. Like unless you're that Texas Tech billionaire guy, and even he's not writing probably all the checks they want. Like there's always a budget. It's how insane your budget is. Like look at the New York Mets, man. New York Mets spend how much money on their baseball team every year and can't get out of their own way. Like I think it's just you know how much I love mixing sports.
I've wrote off baseball so much in the last month and a half. I looked at the playoff bracket today and I was like, when I saw the Reds in there, I was like, what? I guess I didn't know that was even I did see the Mets miss the playoffs. So I've got
and
a
Pete
book.
Alonso's opting out, I guess they said.
Yeah, he sounded like he's pretty much out of there from what I saw on Twitter. But I bookmarked Frank the Tank reaction. I want to go back and watch that later. I'm sure that's great to the ending of the Mets season. It's always entertaining.
I mean, the big story was the Guardians like coming from nowhere to win their division.
That's another thing. My brother was like, man, because I just assumed the Tigers. I mean, I looked at it maybe in August sometime. They had a huge lead in the Central, and they kind of big time blew it.
They barely got into the wild card. Yeah.
Yeah. So
They got lucky that there wasn't like a third team. Well, they got lucky that Houston kind of choked a little bit and didn't make it.
And so no Braves.
I know everyone's
Playoffs.
tuned in to hear our thoughts on Major League Baseball teams that probably none of them care about because the Braves suck this year. But
no Braves playoffs games to take my attention away from Georgia Tech football this October, so that's a good thing.
Sorry, you got locked in. You might be talking about playoff Georgia Tech football, buddy.
That's right. I'll trade that.
I don't know. Is there anything else from the? Or was it at the end of the?
I kind of skimmed through them. There's a bunch of like really long-winded. I might go back and answer a few.
Yeah, you can if you want to. I'll unlock it so you can, or you can unlock it. Actually, if you just responded, we're telling people stuff that you can respond to them without them being able to reply, but you can unlock it too if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I
was looking.
West Georgia's undefeated too.
Are they?
So here's your rundown of the ACC. It's now the Coastal Chaos. Like Miami looks really good, and everybody else looks like they could lose a game easily to whoever they're playing that week. Obviously with Florida State, it's entirely on Castellanos and how he plays, and he giveth and taketh as he always has. He gave it to Virginia early in that game, spotted them too many points, and they lost. Virginia looks better. Their quarterback, same thing. He plays so much like he reminds me so much of Haynes King in a way. That first year that Haynes was at Tech, where he just like throws crazy passes that like you're like, what are you doing? And like half the time they work. Like the one where they beat the defender and he spun out and that set up their last regulation touchdown maybe. And then like throw like 3 picks where you're like, what the hell are you thinking? He's got a little bit of that, the Morris kid. That's Chad Morris's kid. NC State seems to be not good. Duke seems to have found a pulse. Clemson, who knows what the hell's going on there with them. They still are really talented. They're probably like the second most talented team in the league, but they're not playing that way.
Syracuse is definitely not what they were with the
Syracuse is
quarterback.
hurting without their quarterback.
Cal bounced back this week with a road win.
What the hell happened to them the week before that, though?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they got boat raced and then won a game against BC on the road in Boston. BC's been up and down. Pitt choked a game away against Louisville that they controlled most of the game. Louisville's not looked great, but Louisville apparently always. But this is Michael Cunningham told me that Louisville's always bad at Pitt for whatever reason. I don't know.
So Big East rivalry.
It'll be interesting with those Pitt BC games too down the stretch. Like, where are those guys at and where their heads are at? They benched your boy Eli Holstein from Alabama.
Oh yeah.
At the end of that game because he threw two apparently terrible picks. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Wake is not great. Stanford's terrible. Stanford's terrible offensively. Their defense is not bad. SMU's been like they have no defense, and like I don't know what's going on there.
That's a name. That's a name that I heard thrown around today for Arkansas. Is Rhett Lashley?
Why would Rhett Lashley leave SMU where he can win and has like tons of money to go to an Arkansas job where your AD just said that you're not set up to compete for championships?
Yeah.
Like, that makes zero sense to me. Like, SMU has a path, and like, yes, that changes if they're not in the. But right now, they have a seat at the table for the next couple of years, and he just had them in the playoffs. Like, why would you? That Arkansas thing's been a dead end for coaches since what?
Houston Nut.
Yeah, even probably before that, Danny West that was there? God, like in the late '90s, like that job's been bad since they moved to the SEC. Basically, they had one good run, and they got smoked by Georgia in SEC championship in the early 2000s when they had the two running backs, McFadden and
Felix Jones, Peyton Hillis, the three-headed monster.
Yeah, like they were. That was like their one sort of peak they've had, and that's been it. So
one of the best college games I've ever went to.
Absolutely, man. You got to have. We all talk about this.
Yeah.
You've got to have a serviceable backup quarterback. That's why Florida State didn't make the playoffs that year. Like, if they had one, they would have just pushed Texas or somebody else out. Like, because Texas wasn't in the SEC at that point. They might have been the team that got screwed that year out of the postseason. You got to have a backup quarterback. Like, you got to, and that's where it scares me a little bit with Miami. Like, because if Beck goes down, I'm curious because is Emory Jones their backup still, or like who's the? I don't even know who the backup quarterback is at Miami now. Emory Jones might not even play football for Orlando.
I think he got a cup of coffee in the NFL somewhere.
Is he? It's somebody weird like that I was like, oh, that's their backup quarterback.
Danny Ford was the guy from Arkansas. You're trying
Danny
to think
Ford. That's what I was thinking of. I was mixing him and Tommy West up, the Clemson coach. Emory Williams. Sorry, that was who I was thinking of.
Yeah. Yes, I got to say Darren McFadden and Felix Jones in person against Alabama was it was like a 40 to something game. It was crazy. I think Alabama came back and won that game down in Tuscaloosa. That was a fun game I went to.
I covered the whatever it was 2002 SEC championship game that they lost. That group lost to Mark Richt. And then the next year, LSU just smoked Georgia in the SEC championship. Is that right? Or do I have that reversed?
I thought McFadden and them were like a little bit later on, like 2007, 8-ish, maybe.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm getting old.
I know LSU destroyed Georgia.
I know I saw those guys play, which is totally I would have because I was who I was covering at the time.
Maybe I think the year that LSU beat Georgia really bad was when they had Tyrann Mathieu. Was that that was 06?
No, that wasn't. That was Fred Talley, and that was a different team. Yeah, so I'm wrong. But I did see the McFadden in them. That was later. But yeah, they lost 30-3 to Georgia in the SEC championship, and then lost the Music City Bowl to Minnesota. So it shows you how different things are, right? The SEC runner-up played in the Music City Bowl and was the number 25 team in the country. That was when the SEC West was a hot mess. Like Auburn was on probation and couldn't play. Or no, Alabama that season was on probation and couldn't play, and they should have played in the championship game against Georgia, but they were ineligible. Then Arkansas like edged out Auburn, and all, there were a bunch of teams all together. And then Mississippi State went winless in the conference. Nice. That might have been that was Jack Sherrill's Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Jackie Sherrill. Apparently, there's a thing going around that Mississippi State, a bunch of Mississippi State faculty sold all their tickets to Tennessee fans yesterday. It's not going over well with the Arkansas. I mean, with the Mississippi State fans.
That doesn't surprise me. You know, the defensive coordinator was in the that Arkansas game that I covered, 2002. Dave Womack.
Oh yeah,
former Georgia Tech defensive coordinator. His son did a good job against old Georgia yesterday.
That's what I was about to say. Every time my Bama friends text me about Womack, I think Dave Womack, and it's just the younger Kane Womack.
So it was 06. So I did cover a game with McFadden and them. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh, okay. So, sorry, I'm having to look this up because it's going to bother me. It was 2005. I covered a game in Athens with Arkansas and them two boys.
Yeah. I was looking through the list here.
Yeah, it was funny. I asked about that, and then the timeout and how I'd learned. That was the thing that Key talked about learning from last year, to save the timeout for defense when you were in a 2-point conversion situation in overtime. That's what, remember, Kirby did that every single time. Tech would be in the 2-point conversion. He'd wait to see how they lined up, and they called. It was annoying as hell on the field, and it dragged the game out. But it was smart. He waited to see how they lined up, and he called his one time out. Now the thing you risk there is you could get, I guess, a delay game and get a backed up 5 yards, but you're right there anyway, so it's not that huge a thing. It just takes away the run in that situation. But yeah, and then CP Lee, if you watch like the interview with him, talks about like that they went over, if they got this certain look, this is what they were going to go for.
There was a question on the board about speaking of timeouts, about a Key not using one before the 2-minute timeout. I think it was right before the 9 offsides call.
Oh, they wanted to run the clock there. Or are you talking about? Oh no, so that was Wake. Yeah, why do you not use it there? I think they wanted to see if he got a stop or not. Probably.
Yeah. Yep, they only got the 2 left.
There's two things of thought. There's always some different thoughts about how to do the timeouts with the 2-minute timeout and whether to use it before or after. I think what I've seen is if you get a stop, usually you call it there. Like if you get a negative play or TFL or something, you call it before the 2-minute timeout. But if you don't, then you save it.
Yeah. I was looking.
I think Bama was just like, they just looked uninterested. Like it looked like sort of like Georgia Tech, Wake Forest first half, that Bama game. They just looked disinterested in it. Like the parts that I saw that game, like their defense just and it was worse because their defense just looked like it wasn't trying. Like they were not wrapping up. They weren't rallying to the football. It was just a lot of kind of one-on-one defense. I don't know. It was a weird strategy. And thing too, Gus Malzahn clearly gets geeked up to play Alabama. Clearly Kirby Smart gets in his head when he plays Alabama and gets away from the things he would do. He kicks that field goal 10 out of 10 times against anyone else other than Alabama to tie the game. Like these are the things that you see these coaches. I saw it covering Georgia with Mark Richt. Saw Ted Roof at Georgia Tech when he was the DC and they played Duke, and suddenly they turned into, like he was playing, a top 5 team when they played a Duke team that wasn't very good. He would coach themselves into circles on those games. So there's stuff like that. Mark Richt couldn't beat Florida even with Ron Zook. Like there's stuff like this with these coaches, man. They get in their heads sometimes in these games and do stupid stuff.
That was a name you mentioned. Gus Bus for that would be a Arkansas kind of hire, I would think.
I think that's the job he wants. They need to probably win some more games or get turned down by some people before it gets to Gus. But I could see them going that route. I know that was a job he was interested in the past. I don't know what you do if you're Arkansas. There's a few jobs. Virginia Tech sort of like that to an extent. Like there's not great recruiting ties anywhere. Like where are you getting your players from? And you're in a league where you're maybe outmanned financially by some other teams. And do you have the resources to invest in that? With Arkansas, it's sort of that same thing where they're investing so heavily in basketball too. You wonder if they're how that's going to work because they went out and spent all that money in Calipari and having to field a basketball team. It's an interesting problem. Like they've been sort of a non-factor for a long time. Sort of
Well,
like Virginia Tech has.
that's why I think like when everybody else is trying to get into the SEC, I would think Arkansas would maybe be a program like to
They go jump back to the Big 12.
That's what I was going to say. Like they could probably compete a whole lot better in the Big 12 now than they are in the SEC right now. So I don't know. I don't know how all the pieces are going to work out in a few years, but
The thing that made me laugh the hardest that I saw on Twitter yesterday, this just reminded me of the comment. Did you see you were watching the game, the shank by the Bama kicker?
yeah.
And that it was like the NCAA video game where you like can't even kick the ball.
Yes.
Like I saw somebody comment about it, they said, hey, and it might have been Bud Elliott or somebody was like, hey, look, they figured out how to like the game really is true. Like
Exactly. I'm horrendous
no,
at
I know
kicking on that
Arkansas
game.
has money, man, but just like you can have money, but it's hard when you don't have recruiting territory. This will be the big test with Texas Tech, and it's been a big thing. Oregon made themselves cool because of Nike, but again, Oregon's the same sort of thing. They're in an area where there's not a lot of players. It's hard. That's why you've seen Nebraska struggle so much, right? Like you don't have a natural recruiting. It's where Virginia Tech is struggling now. They had made their feast on Tidewater, and then everyone started recruiting there, and it screwed things up. Like I don't know that you're going to have the right person to figure out how to mine that and recruit nationally. And Arkansas is not for everybody. I'm sure Fayetteville's nice. I've never been there. I don't think. I've been to Arkansas before. The parts of Arkansas, but it was not great. But it was near Memphis. But yeah, I don't see it. Like I see that as a tough road unless you really nail the hire and nail the staff and really invest up. But yeah, they do have was it Purdue and the Waltons. But again, like you wonder too, like how invested are those people in maintaining your program?
And Jerry
Like,
Jones.
oh, Jerry, that's right.
So yeah.
And Jerry Jones is what? He's an octogenarian, right? Like Jerry's got to be in his 80s, right?
Yeah, he's up there. I was looking at
82.
Green Bay is beating Dallas currently 20-16 in the third quarter. The return of Micah Parsons to Dallas.
Nice. It's always fun when you have to play the guy you sold.
That's right.
Poor Dallas fans. It's been a rough year for them.
Yep.
Between that and the fire sale of Luka.
Yep, 2 generational players out the door.
Luka's like ripped now. Which is even funnier.
It's the LA diet.
Well, I appreciate everybody jumping on. We're clearly running out of steam. We've run out of gas, clearly. Alex, any final thoughts from you from Saturday?
I just say always appreciate their officials. They do a great job. Let's never ridicule any officials. They might change in a few weeks, but we'll keep it on that right now.
We got the former company I worked for that got bought out actually sent us like a thing because too many of us were criticizing officials on like social media a couple of years ago, and we got like chastised by them for. I wasn't singled out on it because I was sort of criticizing other games other than the one that I was covering too when there was bad officiating, but it's uniformly bad. And the problem is you could start putting in replay for all these things, but like that's just going to make the game even longer. And there was a person in the press box on Saturday that said that if they were set for life financially, they would go beat the guy in the red hat down on the field and take his sign from him because they're so sick of the TV timeouts. It was not me. It was not any of the Georgia Tech beat writers, but that was said in the press box by someone that was there on Saturday, that they were so annoyed with the red hats and the TV timeouts during that game. But, it is what it is, man. These guys, this isn't a full-time job. These guys all have like other lives too. Like, they're working at a car dealership or doing whatever during the week. I've been on a commercial flight and coach with an official like sitting in front of me for like the game that I was going to cover, particularly basketball. That happens a lot because I'll be flying into Syracuse or something, and there'll be like an official. There were like one or two on the plane with me, and like I'll recognize them, or they'll have something, and that's it. What's the funniest thing I've heard or seen in the press box that made everyone laugh out loud? Huh.
I don't know. I've smelt some smells in the press box, but I don't.
Somebody, there have been some loud profanity at times. The one that made me laugh the hardest was the touchdown to Christian Leary by King, and hearing literally the sound of punches from like the Miami media punching their keyboards, having to erase their stories at 11:30 at night or whatever it was. And I just put my head down. I was laughing so hard because it was so absurd when it happened and how Mario had pissed that game away. Like I've seen some crazy stuff. There's some stories I can't tell. Like I was sitting with somebody that got ejected from the press box because they were banned from being at Georgia Tech. Uh, like it was a long story, but like it was not a media person, but somehow they got a credential. This was a long time ago, and we were sitting there. We sit at these big round tables to eat in the media room, and they like literally brought like a police officer to like escort this person out, and like out of the building. Like I've never seen that before. That was pretty wild. I've seen some people get ejected. Our current SID, Mike Flynn, he tossed a dude who got way too exuberant about a play for the opposing team in the press box and like jumped up and like started clapping or something. And he like flew up and was like, God, the guys, I was appreciative of this because it was kind of a really out of character. Like you're supposed to be professional to a point. Like there's some people that are like get a little excited or whatever, but
not me.
And by the way, to end on this, I've said this a billion times, dude. I don't understand you. It's a however many $billion business. Why you can't figure out how to pay your officials full time? It's because they don't want to share the money. That's what it's. All this has always been about the money and not wanting to share. Why are the NFL rosters 53-man rosters with the practice squad? Why do they not have like a full roster, like where you have two full teams of players, like or three, like so you can actually have a real scout team? It's because they don't want to pay them, and it hurts player development. It hurts referee development that they can't sit and focus on this all the time. But there's still gonna be things. There's human error. There's guys get caught up in the moment, or they're decide to let them play or whatever it is. Like it's inconsistent as hell. Basketball is the worst of them, just because it's so subjective. Balls and strikes, yes, but basketball's hard because they'll anticipate fouls. They'll wait and see if someone makes a bucket on a play and call a foul or not call a foul. There's the Duke level of fouls you get in a men's basketball game that's apparently somehow John Shire has inherited from Mike Krzyzewski. It's interesting. Sorry, we got off on the last tangent there.
Not in the college press box, but I did see. I actually had to help break up a fight between a visiting radio crew for a high school game and a assistant coach in the press box one time. So that was funny afterwards, but it wasn't funny in the middle in the middle of breaking it up. But that happens in the small press boxes at high school games.
Yeah, basically it's like a little room with like the scorers and then like maybe one or two seats. You're typically not in a Buford Stadium situation with like a big press box. The ones we're in are generally pretty big. There's a few that are weird. The Tulane one's like super small. It's smaller than Georgia. It's about the size of Georgia Tech's baseball press box, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, pretty small.
You could call holding on just about every play. Any O-line coach will tell you that. So that would really slow the game down if they called it every time. But yeah. All right, people. Is this ACC? I have no idea if the ACC is a 1 or 2 or 3 mid-league. I think it'll be a 2, but we'll see. Appreciate everyone for joining us. Alex, good to see you, brother.
Appreciate those refs.
We don't have a media schedule for this week because of the bye yet. I don't know what it's going to be. Hopefully they'll send it tomorrow. I would think if there's anything, it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday. But stay tuned. We'll post updates when we get them. Appreciate everyone. And go subscribe to Jackets Online, support Section 103. And appreciate everybody. Have a great week and enjoy the bye week. You go undefeated on the bye week.
That's right. Stress-free football.